You're watching Football Daily, and here's our list of 10 football matches you won't believe really happened. 10. The most dangerous scoreline. Losing by even one goal is painful, so imagine how it feels to lose by 149. Well, that's what happened to Madagascan side Le Mans in 2002. They had been knocked out of the title race thanks to a late controversial penalty in their previous fixture, and the disgusted players decided to take action. In the next match against AS Adema, they protested by scoring nearly a century and a half of own goals, with their opponents not touching the ball in the whole 90 minutes other than at kickoff. Fans demanded refunds, the coach was banned for 3 years, and Adema became champions. And despite the best efforts of Aston Villa, no team has lost by such a margin before or since. 9. The Scottish play. When the mighty Scotland were drawn against the equally mighty Estonia in World Cup qualification, the whole football world came to a standstill. Not really, no one cared, but it did see a match played with just 11 men on the field. The fixture was in Tallinn, but when the Scots trained the evening before the game, they discovered that the ground's floodlights were faulty and complained to FIFA. To avoid a problem, the match was moved from the evening to the afternoon, but the Estonians were outraged, as the TV rights had been negotiated and couldn't be changed. They decided to boycott the match, but the Scots took to the field at 3 PM. They kicked off and the ref immediately blew his whistle, bringing the game to a close after just 3 seconds. Though the match was rearranged, the Scotland players celebrated with their fans, even shaking hands with the ref. 8. Burning title ambitions. In 2008, the Eredivisie title race was going down to the wire, with Ajax fighting it out with PSV for the honours. The Amsterdam outfit travelled to Groningen, needing a win to keep pace and fielding a team containing Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, Jan Vertonghen and Luis Suarez. However, with the season almost over, Groningen fans were in exuberant mood and began throwing toilet rolls onto the field, covering the sidelines and the stands in paper. It was all pretty funny until a few idiots decided to set light to the tissue, starting a blaze which saw the game abandoned and 19 people injured. The match was replayed 2 days later and Suarez scored as Ajax won, but they still finished the campaign in second. 7. Knocked out. In the very first World Cup way back in 1930, the United States were having a rough time against Argentina. Several players suffered injuries in a bad-tempered tie, and the USA went down to 10 men at half-time, as one of their defenders was crocked and substitutions hadn't even been invented yet. Despite going into the break just 1-0 down, a short-handed USA couldn't handle the South Americans in the second half, and ended up losing 6-1. But that wasn't the end of the drama. After one nasty clash, US physio Jack Cole raced onto the field to attend an American injury, but dropped his medical bag in the rush. A bottle of chloroform fell out of the bag and smashed, and Cole was overcome by the vapours. Passing out on the grass, he ended up having to be stretchered off. 6. The legal match fix. Ever wondered why the final round of group games in international tournaments are played at the exact same time? The game between West Germany and Austria in the 1982 World Cup is the reason why. The two other nations in their group, Algeria and Chile, played the day before, meaning that West Germany and Austria knew the result they both needed in order for the two European sides to qualify. A win by 1 or 2 goals by the Germans would be favourable for both sides. And that's exactly what happened. West Germany took the lead after 10 minutes, and the rest of the match was pretty much spontaneous match fixing without breaking any rules in accordance with FIFA. The match was later nicknamed the Disgrace of Gijón, and to make us sympathise even more with the Algerians, it was their first ever World Cup appearance. 5. Fogged up. In 1945, the English FA invited Dynamo Moscow on a tour of the UK to celebrate the return of football after the Second World War. After a draw with Chelsea and a 10-1 drubbing of Cardiff, Dynamo faced Arsenal at White Hart Lane, as Highbury was used as an air raid centre by the Ministry of Defence during the war. 55,000 spectators showed up, but during the match a thick fog descended on the stadium, leading to total confusion. Some fans claim that a Russian player remained on the pitch after being substituted, giving Dynamo 12 men, whilst an Arsenal player who had been sent off crept back on and saw out the rest of the match. Meanwhile, the Arsenal keeper ran into a goalpost and knocked himself out in the mayhem, and a spectator had to stand in for him between the sticks. Dynamo eventually ran out 4-3 winners. Not that anybody had any idea what had just happened. 4. What a strike. Every club has its haters, but one South African team has reason to believe that God is not a fan. In 1998, Joburg's Moraka Swallows played Jomo Cosmos in the South African Premier League. The Swallows were 2-0 down in the 78th minute when several of their players were simultaneously struck by lightning. 7 members of the team and the referee were left prone on the deck, clutching their ears and eyes in pain. 2 men were taken to hospital for observation, whilst the others were unharmed. However, the Cosmos coach was not entirely sympathetic, pointing out that some of the Swallows players only hit the ground when they saw their teammates doing so. Regardless, the match was abandoned. 3. The 6-minute match. In December 2005, Real Madrid faced Real Sociedad at the Bernabeu, and the score was tied at 1-1 in the dying minutes thanks to a Ronaldo bicycle kick and a Kvechi equaliser. But the police received intelligence that Basque separatist ETA had placed a bomb in the stadium, with a timer set to detonate around the time of the final whistle. Security personnel alerted the officials, and the game was halted in the 84th minute, whilst the capacity crowd of around 75,000 was swiftly evacuated. The players, meanwhile, waited outside in their kits, and it was later decided that the remaining 6 minutes of the game would be played more than 3 weeks later during the winter break. So Madrid and Sociedad squared off for just 360 seconds, during which time Ronaldo won a penalty, which Zidane converted. 2. Next goal wins. Barbados and Grenada might not be Germany and the Netherlands, but they produced a classic encounter in qualification for the 1994 Caribbean Cup. In the final match, Barbados needed to beat Grenada by 2 goals to make the tournament, but the qualifying competition had 2 weird rules. 1. A game couldn't end in a draw, going to extra time instead. And 2. The first goal in extra time would win the game and count as 2 goals. So when Barbados found themselves 2-1 up with minutes to go, they scored an intentional own goal to make the match go to extra time. Meanwhile, Grenada knew that they would go through with a win or a 1-goal loss, and so tried to score at either end, meaning that Barbados were defending both goals to make sure the game finished level. They succeeded, it finished 2-2 and went on to an additional 30 minutes where Barbados scored to win 4-2 and qualify. 1. Shots. Belarusian referee Sergei Smolik was one of his country's most respected officials. His reputation saw him called up to international duty, once taking charge of a memorable 6-0 England victory over Luxembourg in 1999. But in 2008, Smolik made headlines in spectacular style after a Belarusian league fixture between Vitebsk and Naftan. The referee, who had been recently voted the country's best, barely moved from the centre circle during the match, clutching his back, and failed to punish several robust challenges with his cards. Worried, a colleague came out to help him off the field, but Smolik resisted help and waved happily to the crowd. It turned out Smolik was drunk off his tits, and he was suspended by the FA. What's most incredible is that he saw out the whole 90 minutes whilst battered. So there we have it, but what do you guys at home think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you click here for loads more great content and down there to subscribe. And as always guys, we'll catch you later.